Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya for those of you that are new here, and I'm a watercolor and acrylic artist. So in today's video, I wanted to show you how to paint a bouquet of tulips in a watering can, and I'm going to be doing that in watercolor. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so to get started, I've got my Arches watercolor paper. I have two Grumbacher paintbrushes, a 5 and a 2. I have a pencil and an eraser, my paper towel, my water, and my Winsor Newton watercolors. And I'll let you know what color I'm using as I'm going along if you wanted to follow along with me. All right, so just take your paper and your pencil, and we're gonna just lightly sketch out the watering can. Now, kind of think about the placement of where it's gonna be, because you want the tulips to have enough breathing room up here. You don't want them bleeding off the page. So you wanna kind of center your watering can in the middle here. Well, actually, bring your watering can a little bit more to the right. If you're going to have the spout of the watering can come off to the left, then move the body of the watering can a little bit more over to the right. And if you're doing it the opposite, then move the watering can over to the left, just so that there's room for that spout to come out. All right, so I'm going to start with the oval here for the top elliptical of the watering can. And then I'm just going to bring my sides down. So again, make sure you have enough room up here for all your flowers that are going to be coming out of the watering can. And then do another little elliptical down on the bottom. Make sure it all lines up. And then I'm going to do the spout coming out going to the left. So I'm going to do a little backwards C curve right here. I'm going to bring that little spout up like this. So see how you wanted a little bit more room on this side? And actually, I could have moved my watering can over a little bit. And since it's a little bit off center like this, I might just put like maybe a flower or something down on the ground over here just to balance it off a little bit. But you can always go ahead and erase this and move it over a little bit if you want to. All right. And then I'm just going to do some generic little tulips. And it's going to be an oval. Now, it's not going to be really detailed because it's not a close-up painting. It's kind of a far-away painting. So I'm going to do one oval, and then I'm going to do the petals that have come off to the sides, and then the two in the back. And just kind of think about the placement of where you want these tulips to go. So oval, I'm going to do two ovals coming this way, and then a couple little petals in the back. So again, not too detailed. So just kind of think about where you want the placement of these flowers. Maybe I'll bring it even up a little bit more. Actually, first, what we're going to do before we put in all our leaves is we want to get the part to hold the handle here, to hold the watering can. So I'm going to just kind of make a little mark right here where I want that little handle to be, and I'm going to swing it over to this side. Now you're not going to see that side because that's on the other side of the can, the watering can, so you're only going to see it up to there. Whereas this side you see where it comes down. And you can make it as thin or as thick as you want. And then watering cans normally have another little handle on the back. So you can go ahead and place that as well. And then continue on with your watercolor, your tulips. So let's say I want another one up here. And since we left all this room over here, I think I'm going to have one just kind of on the ground. And I'm just going to put him right there. And then I'll just have like the stem coming off that way. And maybe I'll just put where those little stems are going to be for the flower coming down. And you can always add more later if you want to. Actually, I think I do want another one over here. Right. And then you can start bringing up some leaves if you want to. Now, tulips have these big, long, thick leaves. And you could just start placing them just to fill in between all your tulips. And you can have one or two hanging down if you want. You could even put some tulips down here if you want to also, that are like maybe just coming off the side over here. I'm not going to though. I'm just going to place them right in the middle like this, just on the top of my watering can. And then I'm gonna see if I'm gonna add another one later over here, but right now I think that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fill in where my little horizon line for the table is gonna be. All right, then take your eraser and start erasing the lines that you are not gonna use, like the elliptical, the one on the inside here I'm not using, the side of the watering can right here. You can even start lightening up some of your lines if you want to. You could have done this in colored pencil, watercolor pencil also. That way you don't have to lighten up your lines too much. It would just automatically just start bleeding in with the water and become part of your painting. You can always do that too. I just chose to use a regular pencil today. All right. And then, so you don't get the oils from your fingers onto your paper, always use a brush. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a wet watering can. So I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna apply water, mostly around just the edges. I want the edges of the watering can to be a little bit darker than the middle part of here of the watering can. I want this to be a little bit lighter, just so it looks like a highlight. So I took some Payne's Gray, and I'm just gonna make a wash here of Payne's Gray. Put as much water as you want. The more water you put down, the lighter it will be. And then I'm gonna start filling in where I had laid down that water and let it blend in. So I want the edges of the watering can to be darker and the middle to be highlighted. It'll just show the curve of the can a little bit better. I'm gonna go around that little handle there and bring it down. And now if it's not bleeding in as much as you want, which I didn't fill in water here and that's why it's not bleeding in, always go over it with a clean brush. Just go around the edge lightly and it will start filling in. Now I'm not gonna go all the way in because I do wanna leave a nice white highlight right there. All right, so let's go ahead and fill in our handle. And right now I'm using my size 5 brush. If you want to move to the size 2, you definitely can, or whatever size you feel comfortable with. I'm just doing the size 5 right now. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of a darker, just down here, a little bit of the Payne's Gray, just a little bit down here, just darken it up. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing to the spout here. And I'm going to just put in some water, mostly around the sides. I'm going to pick up my wash and my Payne's Gray and start filling it in. Because again, I want to highlight in the middle for this too, because it is a rounded spout here. So I want it to be lighter in the middle so it just looks like it's rounder. All right. Then with a clean brush and just some water, you can slowly start bringing that in. Just like that. So see that beautiful highlight that we left here and here? Now, if you think this highlight is just a little bit too stark, you can always go ahead and just bring it in a little bit more if you want to. Just clean water. All right. I'm going to start with my tulips now. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the gray of this handle up here first. Now, some of the leaves are going to be in front of this. If you want to leave some empty spots, you can. I'm just going to bring my leaves right in front of it when it's time for that. All right. Very, very cool. All right, I'm going to move over to my size 2 now, and I'm going to pick up Opera Pink. I have a wash here of Opera Pink. It's Daniel Smith, so I do have a couple Daniel Smiths on my palette. And I'm just going to start picking whichever flower I want. I'm going to start with, I want the bottom of the flowers to be a little bit darker than the top. So I'm just going to kind of outline what I had done and start filling it in. So that one oval, I'm just going to do the bottom of the oval and the bottom of these 2 ovals. I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to bring it up a little bit, just so it looks like it's darker on the bottom. And then if you want, you can go ahead and do those 2 little petals in the back as well. Okay, you can always leave a little white. See how I left a little white in here for some highlight? Very nice to do that. Then it gives it a little bit more dimension. Now I'm going to do yellow and orange and pink tulips. So start spreading them apart like however you think you want them. I'm going to do this one pink over here. So again, I'm just bringing in the pink more towards the bottom of my tulip, of those petals, and I'll do the two back ones because those are going to be a little darker. I'm going to wash off my brush with just clean water. I'm going to just gently bring up that paint. Okay, and we can always go ahead and add more later if we want to. Right now, that's good. And I left a little highlight in there again. All right, let's go ahead. And right now I'm not doing wet on wet. I am doing just regular wet on dry because I didn't want them to bleed too much. So let's go ahead and pick this little tulip down here. So again, I'm doing the bottom of the tulip. I could do those little petals in the back. And then just with a clean, damp brush, I'm going to bring it up so the top of my tulip, top of the petals are a little bit lighter. Now, when this starts to dry, we're always going to go in. We're going to go in and do a little bit more of a second layer here, and we're just going to push the darks on the bottom of these tulips a little bit more. All right, so see how these flowers don't have that much detail? It's just suggesting that it is a tulip. You don't have to sit here and do a huge close-up of the tulip. This is just a small little painting. You don't have to get that detailed about it, but you do want to be able to tell that they are tulips. All right, I'm going to start bringing in my yellow, and I've got, what is this? Windsor yellow. You can bring any yellow you want. I think this Windsor yellow is a really nice, bright color to do for tulips. Make a little wash of it, and I'm going to do the same thing. Bring in that yellow down on the bottom, do those two little petals in the back, and then just with a clean brush, I'm going to add a little bit of water just to bleed those petals up so it's lighter on the top. And I'm going to continue and do several more yellow tulips. Okay, and now I'm going to pick up, I believe this is my Cad Red Pale. Yep, so it's kind of like an orangey. It's a red, but it's like a tomato orange. I'm going to get a nice wash of that going. Show you what I'm doing here. I just put a little bit of that down, and I'm adding some water to it. And I'm going to do the rest of my tulips. So here again, the bottom of the tulip, the bottom of those petals on the sides, and then the two in the back. Then I'm going to wash off my brush and just bring up some of that orange. Okay, so now that I've did all my tulips, I'm going to go ahead and give them a second layer of the same color. So again, with just the opera pink, and I'm going to just punch that color down towards the bottom just to darken it up a little bit more. See how they gave it a little bit more punch? I'm going to do the same thing to this one down here, just another layer down towards the bottom. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my yellow and my orange. Oh, I forgot to do the little spout here, the little top of the spout. So I'm just taking my Payne's gray once again, the same gray that I had used for the rest of the watering can. And I'm just going to go around, and I want to leave a little bit of highlight in the middle. So it's just that little oval you're going to fill in. And then if you want to start bringing down a little bit of the Payne's gray, or whatever color you're choosing, I'm just using Payne's gray. You don't have to use Payne's gray for the watering can. That's just the color I chose. But I am going to start deepening up just my edges like that. And I'm still using my number 2. I'll bring a little bit more here. I just like my paintings to be a little bit more dramatic. That's why I'm always pushing my lights and my darks. But if you like your painting to be a little bit more subtle, then you definitely don't have to do this part. So I'm just taking water, and I'm just bleeding that up a little bit. All right, and if you want, you can close up this highlight a little bit. Just add a little bit more to it there. All right, so I'm gonna start the greens, and I'm gonna pick up my Winsor Green Blue, which is this beautiful like evergreen color. Make a little wash of it right there. I had some on my palette already. And then I'm also gonna take some of my sap green. I love sap green. It's kind of more of like a limey middle tone green. So I'm gonna make 2 washes there. And I'm gonna start with the leaves of my little bouquet here. So I'm just starting by maybe just highlighting them, not highlighting them, outlining them a little bit. Now make sure that your painting is nice and dry, or you're gonna have green going into your pinks and your yellows and oranges. And I'm just gonna start placing where I want those leaves. Now leave a little highlight in there also. I'm just outlining them and then filling them in, going around everything. Wherever you have it on the top, continue it on the bottom, so it looks like it's all part of the same bouquet. Have as many as you want. And then before it dries, I'm going to start adding in a little bit of that other green to it. So I'm going to add in a little bit of this green right here, just to give it some shadows, the darker green. So it's still wet. My leaves were still originally wet, so it's bleeding in together nicely. I'm going to pick up my sap green again and just continue around. And I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around, adding both greens, leaving some white highlights. All right, and then you're going to want to start filling in this area here where all the tulips come together, right here at the opening of the watering can. It's going to be a little bit thicker and darker because it's where everything comes together, and it's going to be a little bit lighter and airier as you go out, as all the flowers start to feather out. All right, I have one petal coming down this way. And I'm going to add that other green to it. Just dab it in there. Okay, my watering can was still a little wet, so I don't know if you can see this, but see how it's bleeding right on there? I'm just going to take a little paper towel and soak that up. All right, and then I'm going to use the darker green for the stems. So I'm just taking that Winsor Green Blue, and I'm just going to start bringing down. Now see how my flower wasn't dry there? So it's bleeding in with it. I might use a paper towel and get some of that off. All right. So the same little paper towel, I just ripped off a little piece here, and I'm just going to dab it on. That little flower was still wet. All right. And let's go ahead and do the stem for this one. I'll have that bleeding off the side, and then maybe I'll even have a little leaf coming off this way. Add a little bit of the other green. There. And actually, I think I want to add another leaf on the other side now that I did that. There. Perfect. All right. I did not do my ground yet. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of a wash around my watering can here and around my flower. If you wanted to, you could have drawn your flower and just did the wash around the pencil mark. I just am going to do the wash around my actual painted flower here. So you could do it either way. All right, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to start adding a little bit of that Payne's Gray on the other side, because you might see a little bit of that can through the flowers. And I know my flowers are still really damp down here. I'm just going to let it bleed out. Just a little bit here and there. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry this really quick, and then we're gonna add another layer to it. Okay, so now that my painting is nice and dry, I'm gonna go ahead and deepen up some of my greens. So I'm just gonna use the same colors that I was using before. And I might not deepen them up more towards the top here, but definitely at the bottom of the bouquet down here, I'm going to darken them up. Just because, like I said before, everything's clustered together, it's more shadowed. You can always add a little bit more green here and there if you want. And I think I'll add a little bit of that other green too, that darker green. Just here and there, I'm gonna dab it in. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna pick up my size 5 again, and I'm gonna do a wash. And I think I'm gonna do maybe burnt umber. I think I'm gonna make a wash of my burnt umber. And I want to do the ground or the table, whatever this is laying on, sitting on. And I'm going to go around my watering can and do the horizon line. So wherever you have it on one side, make sure it lines up to the other side, so your painting looks, that is proportioned. And then you could just add a little wash around the tulip here. And then I'm going to deepen up that color even a little bit more as it's right under the watering can. All right, now that's a little too much for me, so I'm going to take a nice clean brush and I'm going to dab some of it off. Wipe it off on your paper towel. Just brush it off. And I'm still leaving a little bit of a highlight here and there on the table as well. We can go ahead and deepen that up later. I think what I want to do is just push my darks on this watering can just a little bit more. If you like it the way it is, you do not have to. So I'm just going to take my Payne's Gray and I'm going to once again go over my dry painting, mostly the edges. And then I'm going to take a clean brush and I'm going to blend that in, feather it in. I just want to push the darks of this watering can a little bit more. Around that little handle, clean brush, feather it out. Perfect. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of that spout too. All right, I think I'm going to just darken up a little bit of the top here. Make just a couple of those little lines so it's got like that circular motion. So I'm leaving some highlights in there. I just kind of did like a broken up circle, oval right there. And then I'm just going to darken up parts of this handle as well. Maybe more the inside of the handle. Just to give it a little highlight. And then I'm going to even push the inside of the handle on this side too. Just darken it a little bit, just like that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a little splatter in the back. I love doing that. You could leave it nice and white or whatever wash you did at the beginning. You could just leave it at that. I'm gonna do a little splatter paint, and I really like, actually I think I'm gonna do some of the yellow. That yellow that we did for the tulips, that lemon yellow. I'm gonna make a nice wash of it. Make sure you get a lot of water on there. And I'm gonna start just tapping it with one of my brushes. Just tap 2 brushes together. I'm gonna make another little wash. There we go. Now, if you think that that is not showing up too well, you can always go ahead and do another color as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of my paper towel, and wherever that yellow splatter got on my flowers or my watering can, I'm just dabbing it off. While it's still wet, it'll come off really easily. I think I'm going to do a little bit of that orange also. I think I want to do a little bit of the orange because my yellow just wasn't showing up as much as I wanted it to. So I'm going to do it again with just the orange. There, now that's showing up. Just a little bit here and there. Perfect. Again, with your paper towel, while it's still wet, just dab it off. Wherever it got on your painting that you don't want it, just dab it off while it's still nice and wet. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of my archival pen to it also. Okay, so my painting is nice and dry, and I've got my Micron archival ink pen here. Micron is the brand that I use. You can use any brand you like. And I've got a size 3, and I'm just gonna start just with a broken up line, kind of outlining my watering can a little bit. It just gives it a little bit more darkness, a little bit more punch to your edges. It makes your painting a little bit more 3D. If you don't like to use the archival ink, you definitely don't have to. I like pen and ink with watercolor. I just think it's a really pretty look. But again, if you don't like it, don't do it. And it's just a broken up line. I'm just doing little lines here and there. I'm just gonna outline, maybe not my whole watering can, but just a little bit here and there. All right, so now that we did the watering can, I am gonna do just a little bit, maybe more towards the middle here, of a broken up line again. Just outlining some of my leaves and maybe my stems. So if you did black down here, you just wanna go ahead and do a little bit of black on the top as well, just so it looks like it's not, you know, two separate paintings. It's all uniform. You've got a little black down here and a little black of the pen up here as well. And then if you want, you could even do your horizon line on the table here. And if you want to give it a little bit of a wood pattern, you can always come in and just do a couple little lines here too, just to give it like, it's like got the grain of the wood. Now I think this pen is running out for me, so it's going on really light, but that's okay. Yours might be going on a little bit darker than mine is. Perfect. I think that was a cute little simple spring watercolor. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, and you can make a comment in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. I hope you have a great day. Bye.